We're in the heart of recruiting season now. What used to be the case in January and December is now the case in June and July. Bulk majority of these guys are going to be committed before the start of their senior years, and official visit season is blowing up right now. So is Ohio State. Ohio State's on fire. They've got 3 of the top 6 kids in the country verbally committed. Their average player rating is 94.84, which is illegal in several states. Fortunately for them, it's good to go in Ohio. Tavion St. Clair, the quarterback they got committed, 6'4", 225. He's way up there, and then they got the number 1 and number 2 corners in the country committed. They've got, Jesse, I think we counted today, 16 commits. 15 of the 16 are blue-chip guys, and they're not done. So, again, you've got some casual energy out there that's going to tell you, well, it's make or break this year for Ohio State. If they don't get it done this year, when? The answer would be next year or the year after that or the year after that, because I can count. I don't even need all my fingers to count on one hand how many other programs are recruiting like Ohio State is. And so maybe they'll win the national title this year. I don't care if they lose 2 games this year. The way they recruit will have them right back year after year after year. This is not a window program, and this recruiting reflects that. They continually stock the cupboard where they take their best shot, they're going to put themselves in contention, and if they don't do it this year, then they'll have another shot next year and the year after that. Insane class that is currently being constructed in Columbus, Ohio. Now, I want to talk about what's happening in L.A. because USC right now has the number 7 class in the country. And it's really interesting. I've talked to several of our guys about this because USC's class, from a strategy standpoint, looks exactly how I want it to look. I have longed for Lincoln Riley and USC to be able to go out of the South, or to go out of Southern California and into the Southern United States and take big-bodied players. Well, on the surface, it looks good right now. Not only do they have Julian Lewis, who's a 5-star quarterback who's committed out of the state of Georgia, they've got Isaiah Gibson, who is a 6'4", 245-pound edge out of the state of Georgia committed, and Justice Terry out of Manchester, Georgia, 6'5", 275, he's committed. All that's well and good. No one is betting the farm that they stay committed to USC out there right now. It's the million-dollar question. It's, can we hang on to them? Because I can confidently tell you, these are defensive players in the state of Georgia that Kirby Smart and Georgia want. They win those far more often than not. I don't think there's an ounce of desperation or concern at Georgia. I fully believe if you lie detectored those folks, they'd tell you, we're going to land them. We'll get them. And I think there's I don't want to call it nervousness at USC, but there's a hyper-awareness that a verbal commit in this case, it means something, but it doesn't mean nearly what we'd love it to mean. And so they've got the first domino to fall. They've got the verbal commits here. Can they keep them? If they do now, if they're able to keep them, then it is a massive win for Lincoln Riley. They could go undefeated or go 8-4 this year. In recruiting terms, that would be a massive win. They're going to have to bear crawl over broken glass to keep those guys because the in-state school wants them, and the in-state school is not Rhode Island. It happens to be the University of Georgia, and when you can sell the kind of player development, on that side of the ball that Georgia can versus what USC is having to sell, which is a vision of the future. USC is selling this new defensive coaching staff and what they will be, and I got no doubt they will be that. But you're still having to sell a vision. Georgia's just selling results. And they're selling drive to the game instead of fly 3,500 miles to the game. Like all that stuff is always going to be a challenge for USC. The only way to change it is to change it. And the only way to change it is to get better players and then play better on that side of the ball. This whole Notre Dame recruitment with Duce Knight fascinates me. We're going to, I believe, see him in person this week out in L.A. at Elite 11. This is a high-level quarterback. 4-star right now. It wouldn't shock me if he had a 5th star next to his name down the road. None of this, by the way, is intel I'm getting from the recruiting team. I'm giving you my personal opinion on this, and they don't let me factor into the rankings. But he's 6'5", 205 from Mississippi and committed to Notre Dame. And Ole Miss wants him bad. And I'm fascinated because it seems like Notre Dame, they've got I think, number 3 class in the country right now, or number 2 maybe. They got a top 5 class. Notre Dame is having to play defense for like so many of their verbal commits. You know what that indicates to me? That indicates they got a really good evaluation staff there. They got in on guys early. They offered them early. They got them to commit early. And then everyone else realized, well, some really good players. Notre Dame's got committed there. Let's go after them. So does he remain committed? History tells me no. History tells me a quarterback from Mississippi is going to stay in state. In fact, most elite players from Mississippi are going to stay in state. And if they go somewhere, it's going to be like LSU or Alabama. Is Notre Dame going to hold on to him? Well, best I can tell with Duce Knight, wired a little bit differently. I think family sees things through a little bit different lens than maybe your typical family would see it through. And I'm saying that to say Notre Dame this year, remember, they brought in Mike Denbrock as the new OC. If they perform well this year offensively, and there's every reason to believe they will, I don't know, man. I still think my money would be on them. However, everyone at Ole Miss thinks they've got a really good shot of flipping him. So long way to go in that recruitment. Look at the state of Alabama. Bama's number 3 in the country right now, still waiting for the drop-off post-Saban recruiting at Alabama. And number 6 is the Auburn Tigers. The state of Alabama, to me, period, bears close watching here. I keep waiting. I was told it would just be like, what are those things called? Tumbleweeds. I was told it would be tumbleweed vibe for Alabama recruiting after Nick Saban left. And I don't know if kids are just not aware that Kalen DeBoer is the new head coach. Like, I don't know if they're unaware. They keep committing. And so the train keeps rolling at Alabama. They got number 3 class in the country right now, 93.21 player average. They're probably on the precipice of landing 1 or 2 more big ones before this next week is over. Staff's been killing it. I mean, hats off to the entire Alabama staff there. But then you hop on 459, then you go down 65, and then you get on 85, and you wind up in Lee County at Auburn, and you say, yeah, so are they, though. And Auburn's loading up on the defensive side of the ball. Their top 6 commits right now are defensive guys, but everyone's focused on Julian Lewis. That's the quarterback out of Georgia. He's committed to USC right now. He took his official visit, I think, to Auburn this weekend. And, the whispers behind the scenes are that visit went very well. Got a few texts today from some people at Auburn. Visit went very well. Very happy with how the visit went with Julian Lewis. So I smile like this because I know it's major league recruiting. That's what you're doing. That's what USC has gotten themselves into, recruiting kids like this from the South. And this is what they're going to have to fight. You got to fight Georgia. You got to fight Auburn. This is what you're going to have to do to hold on to those guys. Auburn could land him or not land him. They got a good class either way, but I think a lot of them internally are sort of counting on either that or finding out where he stands pretty quickly so that they can shift their attention to whoever their next priority at quarterback is going to be. I think you'll see some action on that front one way or another pretty soon. And it needs to be. You can't be going to the 11th hour at the quarterback position. You need to have your ducks in a row there because a lot of people believe, and I agree with this, that a lot of these recruiting classes work downstream of the quarterback. And any quarterback worth his or her salt needs to understand that and needs to get in the boat or firm up your commitment. So either firm up your commitment to USC or jump if you're going to jump somewhere because your coaching staff needs to utilize you being in the fold to sell to other prospects. This, I don't think, should be that difficult. Texas A&M's just lurking, too. Did you notice when Director Colin had the top 10 classes there? Number 8, Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher was there for a long time. I know Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M landed mathematically the highest-rated class of all time a couple of cycles ago, and yet most of it's not there anymore. It was recruited a much different way than Mike Elko recruits. Mike Elko had to operate at Duke. What Mike Elko had to do is he had to make sure everything was completely buttoned down and fully leveraged in terms of scouting and evaluation. And then in time, you'll see the developmental piece. They have that as well. But now what you got a combination of a guy who inherently and intimately understands the scouting and evaluation process because he's had to, but he's also had luxury placed in his lap, the likes of which very few coaches have, and you blend those two, and what you could have is a recruiting monster at Texas A&M. Not the kind that lands impressive classes on paper, the kind that just lands impressive classes. I'd much rather have an Elko class ranked number 4 than what Jimbo brought in a couple of years ago, is what I'm saying. They got 14 commits right now. I think 11 of them are from the state of Texas. They can identify talent as good as anyone. They are organized as well as anyone. There will be no wasted motion or movement or energy out there. If I don't know how much room you have in your portfolio, strongly encourage you to buy stock in Mike Elko and Texas A&M. Now, in fairness, I've bought most of it, but there may be some available on the market still.